I've been delivering groceries to my elderly neighbor for 3 years, only to discover she's worth $40 million. I started bringing groceries to Mrs. Chen during the pandemic. She was 86, lived alone in a modest apartment next to mine, and I worried about her risking exposure at the supermarket. What began as a neighborly gesture turned into a weekly routine that continued long after Fockies ended. Every Thursday for 3 years, I'd knock on her door with bags of simple items, corn rice, vegetables, tea, and occasionally some cookies she loved. Her apartment was small, sparsely furnished, but immaculately clean. The walls were decorated with beautiful Chinese calligraphy and faded family photos. Mrs. Chen always insisted on paying me exact change for the groceries plus $5 for delivery. She'd count out dollars and coins from a worn leather wallet, sometimes apologizing that she couldn't offer more. Fixed income, she'd explain with a small smile. I always told her it wasn't necessary, but she insisted per Chessamen's work deserves payment. We chat briefly while I helped put things away. She rarely spoke about her past, but loved hearing about my struggling art career. She'd encourage me with surprising wisdom about perseverance and patience. When I mentioned my student loans were preventing me from taking time off to focus on my art, she nodded sympathetically. Sometimes life requires long detours before reaching your destination. Last month, Mrs. Chen was hospitalized after a fall. I visited daily, bringing her favorite tea and sitting with her while she slept. The nurses commented how nice it was that her granddaughter visited so regularly. I didn't correct them. After 2 weeks, a man in an expensive suit appeared at the hospital. He introduced himself as Mrs. Chen's attorney and asked to speak with me privately. Mrs. Chen would like you to have this, he said, handing me an envelope. Infly was a check for $75,000 with a note that read, "For your art, no more detours." I was speechless. The attorney smiled at my confusion. Mrs. Chen was wondering if you'd like to know who she is, he said. She thought it might be time. Turns out the quiet old lady I'd been helping was Lai Haibi Chen, co-founder of one of Asia's largest segmebray companies. She'd retired 20 years ago after selling her stake for millions. The modest apartment next to mine was just one of several properties she maintained around the world, a place she used when she wanted to remember normal life. But why pretend to be on a fixed income, I ask, still struggling to process everything? Why count out change for groceries that cost less than what she probably spends on coffee? The attorney's expression softened. After her husband died, Mrs. Chen decided to live differently. She said wealth made people treat her like she was made of glass or gold, never normally. She wanted authentic connections. When I finally saw her again, Mrs. Chen was sitting up in bed, looking frail but alert. Before I could say anything about the money, she took my hand. For 3 years, you saw me as just an old woman who needed help, not a wealthy person to impress or exploit, she said. Do you know how rare that is, to be seen for yourself and not your bank account? She told me stories I'd never heard before, paired her about building a tech empire with her husband in the 1970s, about negotiating with industry titans, about choosing to step away from it all after he died. I have children and grandchildren who love me, she said, but they've never known life without wealth. They try to understand but can't. You showed me kindness because it's who you are, not because of what I could give you. I started to protest that the money was too much, but she waved me off. I have $40 million in assets and no one to share it with who sees me clearly. Let me do this. Mrs. Chen recovered and moved to live with her son in California last week. My student loans are paid off and I've given notice at my day job. Next month, I'll start working full-time in my studio. Before she left, Mrs. Chen gave me one of her calligraphy scrolls. The translation, she told me, was an old Chinese proverb. Wealth can buy a house, but not a home. It can buy